My wife put down the divorce papers with a smile and said, "Accept my lover, or we will break up." I signed the papers without hesitation. My wife turned pale. "No, wait, you misunderstood. Hello everyone. Thank you for being here with me today. Before I begin my story, grab a warm cup of coffee and get comfortable. I would love to know what time of day you are watching this video. Please comment M for morning, A for afternoon, or E for evening. Now, let me take you into this story. My name is Bryan, and if you had asked me a week ago to describe my life, I would have used words like solid, secure, and perhaps, if I were being honest, monotonous. I am 48 years old. I live in a colonial-style house in the suburbs of Chicago with a wraparound porch that I spent 3 summers repainting myself. I have 2 sons, a meticulously organized garage, and a wife named Vivian, to whom I have been married for 15 years. Or rather, I had a wife. It was a Tuesday evening. Tuesdays used to be taco nights, a simple tradition we started when Jason was a toddler. But lately, Tuesdays were just nights Vivian worked late, or claimed she worked late. I was standing at the kitchen island scrubbing a stubborn residue off the granite countertop. The house was quiet. The boys were upstairs. Jason was wrestling with geometry homework, and Tyler was immersed in a video game. The only sound was the low, steady hum of the refrigerator and the rhythmic scrape of my sponge against the stone. Then the front door opened. Usually, Vivian came home with the weight of the world on her shoulders, loosening her silk scarf, complaining about the brutal Chicago traffic, asking if dinner was ready. But this time, the energy was distinctly different. She walked in with a noticeable strut, a little extra bounce in her step. She was wearing her charcoal pinstripe suit, the one she saves for major board presentations, and she smelled of an expensive, smoky bourbon mixed with a floral, cloying perfume that was definitely not the scent I had bought her for our anniversary. "Bryan," she said. "Honey, not babe. Just, Bryan." She did not come over to kiss me. She walked straight to the kitchen table, pulled out a heavy oak chair, and sat down. She placed a thick manila envelope on the worn wood with a heavy, deliberate thud. It sounded like a judge's gavel. "Sit down," she commanded. It was not a request. It was an executive order. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, my heart starting a slow, heavy thumping in my chest. A rhythm of dread. "Dinner is in the oven, Vivian. It is pot roast. Your favorite. Forget the pot roast." She waved a hand dismissively, the flash of her diamond wedding ring catching the overhead light. "We need to discuss the future." I sat opposite her. The envelope lay between us like a loaded weapon. Vivian leaned back, interlacing her fingers behind her head, a smug smile playing on her lips. She looked like a cat that had not only eaten the canary, but had also secured the company that bred them. "Here is the situation," she began, her voice smooth and practiced, as if she were pitching a client for her logistics consulting firm. "I have met someone. His name is Trent. He is 28. He is in marketing, and he makes me feel things I have not felt in a decade. Passion. Excitement. Vitality." I felt the blood drain from my face, leaving my hands cold and numb. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. Waiting for her to say she was testing me, but her eyes were dead serious. "I know what you are thinking," she continued, not letting me speak. "You are thinking this is the end. But it does not have to be. I am a pragmatic woman, Bryan. I know you rely on me. You have not held a steady corporate job in 15 years. You like this house. You like your garden. You like the fact that the boys go to private school." She leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table, invading my space. "So, I have drawn up a proposal, an ultimatum, if you will. Inside that envelope are divorce papers, but they are just a formality, a threat to show you I am serious. Here is the deal. I am going to be with Trent. I will spend my weekends at his apartment. I will be here during the week for the boys. We stay married legally. You keep the house, the credit cards, the status of being Mr. Vivian Vance. In exchange, you look the other way. You accept that I have a life outside of this domestic boredom. She paused, letting the words sink in. Accept my lover. Bryan, or we break up right now. And if we break up, you know you cannot survive out there alone. You are nearly 50. The job market is not exactly begging for former auditors who have not touched a spreadsheet since the first Bush administration. She smirked. That smirk. It was the expression of a person who held all the cards. She honestly believed I was trapped. She thought I was weak. She thought I was just a fixture in her house, like the lamp in the corner or the rug in the hallway. Useful, decorative, but ultimately silent. I looked at the envelope. Then I looked at her. So, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. My options are to share my wife with a man half my age or to be divorced. Exactly, Vivian said, checking her gold watch. It is a generous offer. Most women would just leave you high and dry. I am offering you security. I did not scream. I did not cry. I did not throw the pot roast at her, although the thought did cross my mind. Instead, a strange clarity washed over me. It was like a fog lifting. I saw her not as the woman I loved, but as a stranger, a cruel, arrogant stranger who had underestimated me for the last time. Okay, I said softly. Vivian's smile widened. I knew you would be reasonable. It is for the best, truly. You get to keep your life, and I get to be happy. I reached into the junk drawer behind me and pulled out a black ballpoint pen. I clicked it. The sound was sharp in the quiet kitchen. I pulled the papers out of the envelope. They were heavy, high-quality bond paper. I flipped to the last page. Petitioner Vivian Vance. Respondent, Bryan Reynolds. What are you doing? Vivian asked, a flicker of confusion crossing her face. I am making my choice, I said. I did not hesitate. I did not shake. I pressed the pen to the paper and signed my name in big looping cursive letters. Bryan Reynolds. I dated it. Then I pushed the papers back across the table toward her. I choose the divorce, I said calmly. I am done. Vivian looked down at the signature. Her eyes bulged. The smug smile vanished instantly, replaced by a look of pure, unadulterated panic. The blood drained from her face so fast she looked like she might faint. No, she stammered, reaching for the papers as if she could erase the ink with her bare hands. No, Bryan, wait. You clearly misunderstood. I did not mean it. I was just trying to negotiate. You were not negotiating, Vivian, I said, standing up, looking down at her. You were bullying. And you just bullied the wrong man. Before I tell you what happened next, how I kicked her out, and exposed her secrets, I need to take you back. You need to understand the man I used to be, so you can appreciate the man I just became. And hey, if you were rest of the how to this, and you have ever had someone underestimate you, please do me a favor. Comment. Underrated. Down below. Let me know I am not shouting into the void. It means the world to me. Now, let us go back 15 years. To when the foundation of our life was built on a promise I should never have trusted. To understand why Vivian was so shocked that I signed those papers, you have to understand the dynamic of our marriage. For 15 years, Vivian had been the star, and I had been the audience. She had been the CEO, and I had been the support staff. She genuinely believed that she built our life single-handedly. But memories are funny things. They can be rewritten by ego. Let me take you back 15 years. I was not just some guy she picked up. I was a senior auditor at one of the most prestigious accounting firms in Chicago. I was 20, sharp, ambitious, and I was making nearly double what Vivian was making as a junior sales rep. I drove a convertible. I had my own investment portfolio. I was on track to make partner before I turned 35. I met Vivian at a networking event. She was charming, full of big ideas and charisma. But she was broke. She had a vision for a logistics consulting firm, but no capital and zero financial literacy. She was passionate but reckless with money, prone to chasing high-risk, high-reward clients. I was the opposite, cautious, systematic, and a master of financial defense. We fell in love hard and fast. She made me laugh. She made me feel like I could relax. Like I did not always have to be the tough guy in the boardroom. When we got married, she came to me with her business plan. "Bryan," she said, her eyes shining with tears, "I cannot do this without you. The banks will not loan me the money. But if we use your savings, if you help me run the books, we can build an empire. But I need you focused on the home front so I can hunt for clients. Please trust me." It was a massive request. She was asking me to give up my career, my identity, and my financial independence to bet everything on her dream. And because I loved her, because I believed in the idea of us building something together, I did it. I resigned. I cashed out my 401k to pay for the first office lease. I used my inheritance from my parents, money that was supposed to be my safety net, to buy the servers and the initial software. The total was $300,000 of my personal, hard-earned capital that built the very foundation of Logistics Prime. For the first 5 years, I was the unseen engine of her success. I sat at our dining room table until 2 a.m., holding Jason in one arm, while doing Vivian's payroll with the other. I caught tax errors that would have bankrupted her. I negotiated with vendors to lower costs, often dropping the overhead by 20% just through sheer auditing force. I was her chief financial officer, her human resources department, and, frankly, her janitor, all for a salary of $0. I remember one night specifically. Vivian had just landed her first enormous contract. She came home with a bottle of champagne. We drank it out of coffee mugs because we had not run the dishwasher yet. "I could not have done this without you, Bri," she whispered, kissing my forehead. "This is our victory. You are my partner in everything." I held on to those words. I cherished them. They were the justification for the enormous sacrifice I had made. But as the company grew, and the money started really rolling in, Vivian's memory conveniently faded. The "we" slowly morphed into "I." She hired a real accounting firm. She hired a flashy HR director. She slowly, systematically pushed me out of the business operations. "You should not have to worry your handsome head about numbers anymore," she told me one day, taking the files out of my hands. "Just enjoy the life I am giving you. Go to the gym. Take care of the boys." It sounded like kindness, but it was a clear demotion. I bought this house. I paid for that vacation. My money. She conveniently forgot that her money grew from the seed of my sacrifice. She started treating me less like a partner and more like an employee she could not fire, a fixture in the home she commanded. The shift became undeniable about 3 months ago. We were at an industry awards dinner. Vivian was receiving the Entrepreneur of the Year award. I was sitting at the table, clapping until my hands hurt, beaming with pride. After the ceremony, I went to the bar to get a glass of water. Vivian was there, surrounded by a group of younger, hungry, looking marketing executives. They did not see me approach. "Your husband is lovely, Vivian," one of them said. Vivian laughed, swirling her expensive scotch. "Oh, Bryan is great. He keeps the house standing, but man, sometimes I wish he had a bit more drive, you know. He's been out of the game so long. He does not understand the pressure I am under. He lives in a bubble I pay for. Honestly, he would be lost without me. He would not know how to pay an electric bill if I did not set up the auto pay." The men laughed, a cruel, bonding laughter. I stood there frozen. The ice in my glass rattled against the sides. I was the one who set up the auto pay. I was the one who managed the household budget so she could buy her fancy suits. I was the one who had audited Fortune 500 companies while she was still struggling to figure out how to use Excel. I wanted to walk over there and dump my water on her perfectly coiffed head. I wanted to scream my credentials in her face, but I did not. I swallowed the humiliation. I thought about Jason, who was struggling with algebra, and Tyler, who needed new eyeglasses. I told myself it was just the alcohol talking. I told myself to be the good husband and not make a scene. That was the moment the seed of deep resentment was planted. I realized then that my wife did not respect me. She tolerated me, and tolerance is a very fragile thing. I walked back to the table, put a smile on my face, and pretended I had not heard a thing. But that night, as I lay in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling, I started to wonder if I was so useless. Why was she trying so hard to keep me in the dark? After that night, at the awards dinner, the blinders were completely off. I started noticing things. Little things at first, then bigger, more alarming things. It was like living with a stranger who was wearing my wife's face. The first sign was the scent. Vivian had worn the same floral musk for 10 years. I loved it. It smelled like home. But one Tuesday, she came home smelling like a walking department store perfume counter. It was musky, heavy, and undeniably trendy. "You changed your cologne?" I asked, leaning in to sniff her suit jacket as she dodged my hug. "God, Bryan. Stop sniffing me like a bloodhound," she snapped, pulling away. "It is savage. All the guys at the office are wearing it. Can a woman update her style without an inquisition?" "I was just asking," I said, hurt. "Well, stop asking. You are suffocating me," she muttered, heading upstairs to shower immediately, which was another new habit. She used to come home and crash on the couch. Now, she went straight to the shower to scrub away the day, or, as I realized later, the evidence. Then there was the phone guarding. This was the classic cliche, but it was shocking to see it happen in real life. Vivian used to be careless with her phone. She would leave it on the kitchen island face up while she went to talk to the boys. I knew her passcode 1, 2, 3, 4. Simple. Now, the phone was glued to her palm. If she went to the bathroom, the phone went with her. If she took out the trash, the phone was in her pocket. She even installed a privacy screen protector, so I could not see the notifications, even if I was sitting right next to her. One evening, we were watching a movie. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table. Instinctively, I reached for it to hand it to her. "Do not touch it," she yelled. Snatching it so fast, she knocked over a bowl of popcorn. I pulled my hand back as if I had been burned. The boys looked up from their tablets, eyes wide. "Work security protocols," Vivian muttered, her face flushing red. "Client confidentiality. If you enter the wrong passcode, it wipes the data. I cannot risk it." "I was not going to unlock it, Vivian. I was just handing it to you." "Just let me handle my own devices," she grumbled. The silence that followed was toxic. The man who had managed her entire company's network Security was suddenly too untrustworthy to hand her a phone. The erosion of respect was nearly complete. But the moment that truly shattered my denial, the moment I knew this was not just a phase, happened 2 weeks ago. It was a Sunday morning. Vivian was golfing, or so she said. I was cleaning out her company car, the luxury SUV she insisted on leasing. She treated the vehicle like a rolling dumpster, leaving coffee cups and wrappers everywhere. I was vacuuming under the passenger seat, jamming the nozzle into the tight space between the seat and the center console. I heard a sharp rattle, something plastic being sucked up but getting stuck. I turned off the vacuum and reached my fingers into the crevice. I pulled out a small, glittering object. It was an earring. Not a simple diamond stud, not a classy pearl like the ones I had bought her. It was a long, dangly thing with cheap rhinestones and a bright, aggressive red feather. It looked like something a teenager would buy at a mall kiosk. It was tacky. It was loud. And it was definitely, absolutely not mine. I sat there in the driver's seat of my wife's car, holding that cheap piece of jewelry in my trembling palm. The sun was beating down through the windshield, but I felt freezing cold. My stomach dropped to my feet. When Vivian came home, tossing her golf bag into the corner of the garage, I was waiting in the kitchen. I held the earring up. Vivian, whose is this? She did not even flinch. She did not look guilty. She looked annoyed. She glanced at the earring and let out a dry, dismissive laugh. Oh, that must belong to David's daughter. I gave David a ride to the mechanic last week, and his kid was in the back seat. She has all that glittery junk. Must have kicked it under the seat. Just toss it, Bryan. I stared at her. David's daughter sat in the front seat. I asked, my voice tight, because I found this deep under the front passenger seat. She probably threw it up there. Who knows? Kids do weird stuff. Why are you obsessing over trash? She walked past me, opening the fridge to grab a sparkling water. I stood there, clutching the earring so hard the metal post dug into my skin. David did not have a daughter. David had 3 sons. I had been to David's house for a barbecue in July. I had watched his 3 boys jump on the trampoline. Vivian had lied to my face. She had lied effortlessly, without blinking, without a shred of remorse. She thought I was stupid. She thought I was so disconnected from her life that I would not remember her best friend's children. That was the moment the sadness ended. The grief evaporated, replaced by a cold, hard calculation. She thought I was just a nagging house husband. She forgot they used to audit corporations for a living. If there were cracks in the books, I would find them. And if there were cracks in my marriage, I was going to find the source. I did not toss the earring. I put it in my pocket. It was not trash. It was Exhibit A. That night, Vivian fell asleep quickly, snoring loudly with the arrogance of a person who believes they are untouchable. I lay beside her for an hour, listening to the rhythm of her breathing, feeling a wave of repulsion every time she exhaled. At 1 a.m. I slipped out of bed. I went down to my office. I use quotes because over the years, my workspace had become the household storage room. My desk was covered in Jason's hockey gear, piles of unpaid bills, and Tyler's unfinished Lego projects. I cleared a space, sat down, and opened my old laptop. I cracked my knuckles. It had been years since I did a forensic audit, but it is like riding a bike. You never forget how to follow the money. Vivian thought she was clever changing her phone password, but she was lazy with her financial security. We had a joint checking account for household expenses, but I knew she had opened personal credit cards. She had switched all the statements, to paperless about 6 months ago, claiming she was saving the environment. She forgot one crucial detail. I was the primary administrator on our home Wi-Fi network. I was also the one who set up her original email recovery questions 10 years ago because she kept forgetting them. Question: what was the name of your first pet? Answer: Buster. Question: what is your mother's maiden name? Answer: Collins. It took me less than 10 minutes to reset her work email password. I logged in. The inbox loaded, and the floodgates opened. I did not look for love letters first. In a divorce, emotions are messy, but numbers are absolute. Numbers do not lie. Numbers are the only truth that holds up in a court of law. I went straight to the trash folder. People always delete the incriminating emails, but forget to empty the trash. There were dozens of confirmations. Open table. Reservation for 2 at the Onyx Room. Tuesday, 7 p.m. Ticketmaster 2 front row seats to the pop star concert. $800. Expedia. Weekend booking at the Vineyard B and B Napa Valley. My hand shook on the mouse. The Napa trip coincided with her regional sales conference. She had called me from that trip, complaining about how boring the seminars were. She was lying in bed with him while complaining to me. Then I searched for financial alerts. I found statements for a Visa Black card I did not know existed. The card holder name was Vivian Vance, but there was an authorized user, Trent Miller. I pulled up the PDF statements. The spending was nauseating. High-end department store, $450. Designer perfume boutique, $300. Tiffany & Company, the jewelry store, not the mistress, $2,200. I felt sick. Physically sick. I looked at the dates. The jewelry purchase was on our anniversary. She had given me a card. Just a card. She had told me things were tight this year because of the market downturn. But then I found something that made the room spin. I had to grab the edge of the desk to keep from falling off my chair. I logged into our investment portfolio. Vivian handled the trades now, but my name was still on the account. I navigated to the sub-accounts labeled Jason College Fund and Tyler College Fund. These were sacred accounts. We had started them when the boys were born. I had put every cent of my inheritance into them. Vivian's bonuses went there. It was supposed to be their future tuition, dorms, books. I clicked on Jason's account. It should have had nearly $85,000 in it. The balance read $4,112. I gasped, a strangled sound escaping my throat. I clicked on Tyler's account. Balance: $1,500. Gone. Over $100,000 gone. I checked the transaction history, my eyes blurring with tears of pure rage. Large withdrawals had been made over the last 6 months. Wire transfers. Wire transfer $15,000. Recipient Trent Luxury Apartments LLC. Memo security deposit and lease. Wire transfer $8,500. Recipient Diamond District Jewelers. Wire transfer $5,000. Date: October 12th. I stared at that date. October 12th was Tyler's 10th birthday. Vivian had told Tyler, "Sorry, buddy. Mommy's work is slow. We cannot do the big theme park trip this year. Maybe next time." She had looked our 10-year-old son in the eyes, watched his face fall with disappointment, and pleaded poverty. And on that exact same day, she had wired $5,000 to her lover. The rage that filled me was not hot. It was not the fiery anger of a scorned man. It was ice cold. It was the absolute zero of a father whose children had been attacked. She had not just cheated on me, that I could survive. She had stolen from our children. She had laded their future to pay for a studio apartment for a 20-something man who liked red feathers. This was financial abuse. This was fraud. This was embezzlement of marital assets. I did not close the laptop. I started downloading. I downloaded every statement, every receipt, every email. I organized them into folders labeled evidence. I backed everything up to the cloud, then to an external hard drive, then to a USB stick that I taped underneath the drawer of my desk. I sat there in the dark, the blue light of the screen illuminating my face. I looked at the photo of Vivian and me on the desk taken 10 years ago on a beach vacation. I picked it up and placed it face down. She thought she was dealing with a house husband. She thought she was dealing with a man who did not understand finance. She forgot that I was the one who taught her how to read a balance sheet. I was not just going to divorce her. I was going to destroy her. I was going to leave her with nothing but her cheap cologne and her lies. I wiped my tears. I had work to do. Before I could execute my plan, I needed to check one last box. I needed to see if there was anyone in Vivian's corner who still had a moral compass. I needed to know if I had any allies in this family. I called Patricia, Vivian's mother. Patricia lived in a pristine condo downtown. She was the kind of woman who wore pearls to the grocery store and believed that appearances were the only currency that mattered. We had always had a strained relationship. She thought I was too career-focused when I was working, and then too domestic when I became a house husband. I could never win. But she was a grandmother. She loved Jason and Tyler. Surely, if she knew her daughter was robbing her grandsons blind, she would be outraged. I invited her over for tea 2 days, after finding the bank statements. I sent the boys to a movie so we could talk privately. Patricia arrived looking immaculate in a cream designer suit, scanning my living room for dust as she walked in. The hydrangeas out front look a bit wilted. Bryan, was her greeting. You really need to water them more. Hello to you too, Patricia, I said, leading her to the kitchen. I poured her Earl Grey tea into the good china. I did not beat around the bush. I was too tired for small talk. Patricia, I said, sitting down across from her. I am worried about Vivian. She has been distant. She is not coming home some nights. And I found evidence she is seeing someone else. I watched her face closely. I expected shock. I expected her to gasp, to reach for my hand. Instead, Patricia took a slow sip of her tea, set the cup down with a delicate clink, and looked at me with a pitying, almost bored expression. Oh, Bryan, she sighed, adjusting her pearl necklace. Do not be so naive. I blinked. Excuse me. Vivian is a successful woman, she said, as if explaining gravity to a toddler. She is under immense pressure. She runs a company. She provides this lavish lifestyle for you. Women like her have needs. They need an outlet. Sometimes they wander. It is not personal. It is just biology. I stared at her, my mouth slightly open. Not personal. Patricia, she is sleeping with a man half her age. She is having an affair. Well, she sniffed, looking me up and down with critical eyes. Look at yourself, dear. You have let yourself go a bit, have you not? You are always in those cargo shorts. You look tired. A woman like Vivian needs excitement. She needs to be admired. Maybe if you put a little more effort into keeping her happy. Lost 10 pounds. Dyed your hair. She would not need to look elsewhere. My blood boiled. Are you blaming me for her cheating? I am just saying. She waved a manicured hand. That marriage is about compromise. You have a nice house. You do not have to work. You should be grateful. Do not blow up a good life over a little indiscretion. Just turn a blind eye. That is what men of our status do. We maintain the family dignity. I felt a cold knot tighten in my chest. She was not surprised. She probably already knew. It is not just an indiscretion. Patricia, I said, my voice dropping to a whisper. She drained the boys' college funds. She stole Jason and Tyler's money, over $100,000. She used it to pay for her lover's apartment. For a split second, I saw a flicker of hesitation in her eyes. Her hand paused on her teacup. But then the mask slammed back into place. I am sure she has a plan to put it back, she said stiffly. Vivian is good with money. You are probably misreading the statements. You always were too dramatic about numbers. Besides, Jason is smart. He can get a scholarship. Vivian deserves to spend her money how she sees fit. She stood up, brushing imaginary crumbs off her skirt. My advice: fix your hair, cook her a nice dinner, and stop snooping. You will thank me later. Do not be the bitter ex-husband, Bryan. It is not a good look on you. As she walked out of my house, her heels clicking on the hardwood, I realized the rot went deep. Vivian was not an anomaly. She was a product of her upbringing. She had been raised to believe she was the center of the universe, and any man in her orbit existed solely to serve her. Patricia was an enabler. She was a co-conspirator in my misery. She would sacrifice her own grandson's future to protect her daughter's ego. I locked the door behind her and leaned against it, taking a deep breath. I was completely alone. My wife was a thief. My mother-in-law was an accomplice. And my marriage was a lie, but realizing I was alone was the most liberating feeling I had had in years. I did not have to consult anyone. I did not have to compromise. I did not have to be nice anymore. I walked back to my office and printed 2 copies of every single document I had found. One set for my lawyer Sarah, whom I had secretly retained that morning, and one set for the special surprise I was planning for Vivian. Patricia wanted me to fix my hair. Fine, I would fix my hair. I would put on my war paint, and then I would show her exactly what a dramatic man could do to her precious daughter's reputation. Vivian was staring at me, her face a mask of pure terror. The arrogant smirk was gone, replaced by the look of a person who realizes she has just stepped off a cliff she did not know was there. You signed it, she whispered, her voice cracking. Bryan, stop. I was trying to make a point. I did not actually want a divorce. I was bluffing. I stood up, towering over her as she slumped in her chair. I felt 10 feet tall. You gave me a choice, Vivian. Accept your lover or break up. I chose to break up. You should be happy. You are free. Go be with Trent. Go find your vitality. But the house, she stammered, looking around the kitchen as if seeing it for the first time. The boys. Bryan, be reasonable. You cannot survive without me. You do not have a job. Who is going to pay the bills? Who is going to fix the car? I laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound. I fixed the dishwasher last week while you were working late. I balanced our budget for 15 years. I think I can manage. No. I mean, this is my house. Vivian stood up, her face flushing red, trying to regain some dominance. I pay the mortgage. You cannot just kick me out. Actually, I corrected her, my voice razor sharp. The deed is in both our names. But I have some news for you. While you were busy buying Trent that diamond pendant with Tyler's birthday money, I was busy hiring a lawyer. And that lawyer, Sarah, filed an emergency motion this morning. Vivian froze. What? Based on documented proof of your adultery, and more importantly, financial fraud. Specifically the embezzlement of our children's custodial accounts. I said, savoring every word. The judge granted a temporary exclusive occupancy order. You are to vacate the premises immediately to prevent further dissipation of marital assets. Dissipation of assets. Vivian repeated, looking like she was going to be sick. You. You looked at the accounts. I looked at everything, Vivian. The apartment lease, the jewelry, the Napa trip. I have it all. I walked over to the hallway closet. And because I am efficient, unlike you, I saved you the trouble of packing. I opened the closet door. Inside were two, large, expensive suitcases bulging at the seams. I had packed them that morning, while she was in the shower. I dragged them out, and kicked them toward her. They slid across the hardwood floor, and hit her Italian leather shoes, with a satisfying thud. "What is this?" she asked, looking at the bags with horror. "Your clothes, your shoes, your toiletries, and, of course, that new cologne you love so much." I said. "Get out. You cannot do this," she shouted, her voice rising. "This is insane. You are reacting emotionally." "I am reacting legally," I said. "If you do not leave in the next 5 minutes, I call the police. And I do not think you want a squad car parked out front. What would the neighbors think? What would your clients think?" Vivian looked at me, her eyes darting between the door, the papers, and my face. She saw something in my eyes she had never seen before. Resolve. She realized that the doormat she had walked on for 15 years had suddenly turned into a bed of nails. She tried to switch tactics. The anger vanished, replaced by a slippery, desperate charm. She stepped toward me, reaching out a hand. "Baby, listen," she cooed. "I messed up. Okay, I messed up big time. But we can fix this. You know I love you. Trent means nothing. He is just a fling. A midlife crisis thing. It is over. I will end it today. Just let us talk about this." I swatted her hand away. "He meant enough for you to steal from your own children. He meant enough for you to humiliate me. It is too late, Vivian. You were my wife. You were," I said. "Now you are a liability. And Vivian, I am a much better accountant than you are a liar." I pointed to the door. "Out now." She looked at my face, and saw that the door to reconciliation was not just closed, it was bricked over. She grabbed the suitcases, her knuckles white. She muttered curses under her breath, calling me names I will not repeat. She dragged the bags to the front door. Slept. She struggled with the handle, her dignity in tatters. "You are making a huge mistake, Bryan." She spat as she opened the door to the cool evening air. "You will come crawling back when the bills come in. You will see. You are nothing without me. Give my regards to Trent," I said calmly. "I hope he likes pot roast." I slammed the door in her face. I threw the deadbolt, then the second lock, then the security chain. I leaned my forehead against the cool wood of the door, my heart hammering against my ribs. I listened. I heard the thump of the suitcases going down the front steps. I heard the car door slam. I heard the engine rev aggressively as she peeled out of the driveway. I did not cry. I felt a surge of adrenaline so strong my hands were shaking. I had done it. The parasite was gone. But then the silence of the house settled around me, and I realized the hardest part was just beginning. I turned around and looked up the stairs. Two shadows were standing at the top landing. Jason and Tyler were watching. My heart shattered into a million pieces seeing them there. Tyler, my sweet 10-year-old, was clutching his favorite stuffed dinosaur, looking absolutely terrified. Jason, my 16-year-old, stood with his arms crossed, leaning against the banister, his face unreadable, but his eyes dark. I had wanted to protect them. I had wanted to do this quietly while they were at school. But Vivian's arrogance had forced my hand. I walked to the bottom of the stairs, trying to stop my hands from trembling. "Boys, come here." They came down slowly. Tyler ran to me and buried his face in my stomach. Jason walked behind him, stiff and silent, I led them to the living room, and we sat on the oversized sectional. "Was that Mom?" Tyler asked, his voice muffled against my sweater. "Why did she have suitcases? Is she going on a trip?" I took a deep breath. I had read books on how to tell kids about divorce. Keep it simple. Do not blame. Reassure them. But how do you not blame a person who stole their college money? "Mom is not going on a trip, buddy," I said, stroking Tyler's hair. "Mom and we are going to live apart for a while." "Is it because of the man?" Tyler asked. I froze. I looked at Jason. He was staring at the floor, picking at a loose thread on his jeans. "What man?" I asked gently. Jason looked up. His eyes were red-rimmed. "Dad, stop. We know. You know," I whispered. "We know about Trent," Jason said, his voice surprisingly deep, sounding so much older than 16. He sounded tired. "How?" Jason pulled his phone out of his pocket. He opened a social media profile. He handed the phone to me. "He is not exactly private, Dad. His profile is public. The algorithm suggested him to me because he follows Mom. He tags her in stories. Date night with my CEO boss lady. He posts photos of the gifts." I took the phone. There it was. Trent Miller.xo. Scruffy beard, arrogant pose. Overly filtered photos. And there was Vivian, my wife, smiling like a fool in a selfie, holding a glass of wine, kissing his cheek. I scrolled down. Photo of a diamond necklace. Caption: "She spoils me. Blessed." Date 2 weeks ago. I looked at Jason, horrified. "How long have you known?" "A month," Jason said, his voice cracking slightly. I saw a text pop up on her phone when we were driving to practice. It said, "Can't wait to see you, baby." It was not your number. I searched the number. Then I found his profile. "Why did you not tell me?" I asked, tears finally spilling over. "I did not want to hurt you," Jason said, looking away. I thought maybe it was just a phase. I thought she would stop. I did not want to ruin everything." I pulled Jason into a fierce hug, dragging Tyler into the pile. "Oh, honey. You should not have had to carry that secret. That was not your job. You are a kid. You are supposed to worry about geometry and baseball, not your mother's boyfriend." Tyler looked up, tears streaming down his face. "Is Mom leaving us because we were bad?" "No," I said fiercely, grabbing his shoulders. "No, Tyler. Listen to me. This is not your fault. This is 100% Mom's fault. She made bad choices." "Did she steal my birthday money?" Tyler asked. His voice was so small it nearly broke me in half. I froze again. I had not told them that part. I had not wanted them to know that part. "I heard you yelling," Tyler whispered. "When I was on the stairs. You said she bought a pendant with my birthday money." I looked at my 2 sons. I could not lie to them. Vivian had lied to them enough for both of us. "Yes, sweetie," I said, my voice shaking with suppressed rage. "She did. She took money from your savings accounts. But listen to me closely. I promise you. I swear on my life, I am going to get every single cent back. I will work day and night. I will fight her in court. You will go to college. You will have what you need. Dad is going to fix this." Tyler buried his face in my chest and started to sob. "I hate her. I hate her." Jason looked at the window where Vivian's car had driven away. His jaw was set tight, a muscle jumping in his cheek. "She tried to text me just now." "What did she say?" "She said you were having a mental breakdown. She said you were hysterical and that we should pack a bag and come with her to the apartment." "And what do you think?" I asked, holding my breath. Jason looked me in the eye. I texted her back. I said, "Do not bother. I saw the pictures. Mom, you are a loser." I let out a breath I did not know I was holding. My son was not confused. He was angry, and he was on my side. "Okay?" I said. wiping my face. "Kay, we are going to be okay. But right now I do not want to cook, and I definitely do not want pot roast." "Pizza. 3 large pizzas," I declared. "Extra pepperoni and bread sticks and soda on a school night." We sat on the living room floor that night, eating out of the boxes, watching action movies. It was a small act of rebellion, a reclaiming of our space. The house felt emptier without Vivian's booming voice and her constant demands for service, but it also felt lighter. The toxicity was gone. I looked at my boys, their mouths covered in tomato sauce, and I made a silent vow. Vivian thought she could strip us of our assets and our dignity. She thought she could walk away to her fantasy life without consequences. She was wrong. I had the house. I had the kids. And I had the evidence. Phase 1 was complete eviction. Phase 2 was about to begin the reality check. Vivian was about to find out that living with a high-maintenance lover in a studio apartment was not quite the dream she imagined. The morning of our first legal mediation meeting, the sky was a bruised purple, threatening a storm that never quite broke. It felt appropriate. I sat in the conference room of Sarah's law firm, a sleek, glass-walled office that smelled of lemon polish and billable hours. Sarah, my lawyer, was a shark in a silk blouse. She had reviewed the files I downloaded, the evidence folder, and her only comment had been a low, impressed whistle. "She is dead in the water, Bryan," she had said. "But expect her to thrash. Narcissists do not go down quietly." Vivian arrived 10 minutes late. She walked in with a lawyer who looked like he advertised on the back of a bus bench. Vivian was wearing one of her older suits, wrinkled at the elbows, and she looked tired. Her eyes were bloodshot, and she had a nervous tick in her jaw I had not seen since the recession of 2008. She did not look at me. She sat down, opened a frantic-looking folder, and let her lawyer speak. "My client," the lawyer began, his voice nasally and irritating, "is seeking a 50-50 split of all marital assets, including the marital home. Furthermore, given that Ms. Vance is currently experiencing temporary housing instability, she is requesting spousal support until her living situation stabilizes." I almost choked on my water. Spousal support. From me. The man whose inheritance she had pillaged. Sarah did not blink. Ms. Vance is currently employed as a CEO. Mr. Reynolds has been a homemaker for 15 years. In what universe does he owe her support? In a universe where he has a substantial inheritance trust, and she has expenses. Vivian's lawyer said. Vivian finally looked at me. There was a desperate, malicious glint in her eyes. "We know about the trust fund, Bryan. I know your parents left you more than what you put into the company. I want half. It is marital property. Commingled assets. It is not commingled." Sarah cut in sharply. "It is in a separate trust. But let us talk about what is commingled. Let us talk about the $100,000 missing from the children's custodial accounts." She slid a piece of paper across the table. It was a spreadsheet I had created, color-coded, and terrifyingly accurate. It showed every transfer to Trent Miller and luxury vendors. Vivian turned pale. She grabbed the paper, her hands shaking. This is an invasion of privacy," she sputtered. "He hacked my accounts. He accessed joint accounts and accounts where he is a guardian," Sarah corrected. "And in the state of Illinois, dissipation of marital assets for an extramarital affair is a serious offense. We are not just looking at divorce, Vivian. We are looking at potential fraud charges if you do not cooperate." I thought that would end it. I thought she would fold, but I underestimated her pride. And perhaps I underestimated Trent's influence on her. Or maybe I underestimated how low she was willing to sink. Vivian leaned forward, a sneer replacing her fear. You want to play hardball, Bryan? Fine. Let us talk about custody. Let us talk about the environment at home. My mother tells me you have been unstable, depressed, drinking. That is a lie, I said, my voice icy. Is it? And there is one more thing, Vivian said, dropping the bomb she had clearly been saving. Trent is pregnant. The room went silent. The air left my lungs as if I had been punched in the gut. That is right, Vivian said, seeing the shock on my face. He is carrying my child, a sibling for Jason and Tyler. And the courts look very favorably on mothers who need to provide for a newborn. If you try to destroy me financially, you are taking food out of an innocent baby's mouth. Do you really want to be that monster, Bryan? I stared at her. A baby. She had destroyed our family, stolen our son's college money, and now she was starting a new family with the man who helped her do it. And she was using that unborn child as a human shield to extort money from me. I felt a wave of nausea, but I forced it down. I looked at Sarah. She gave me a subtle nod. Do not react. Do not give her the satisfaction. We will require proof of paternity and medical records, Sarah said calmly. Until then, get out of our office. Vivian stood up, buttoning her jacket with trembling fingers. You will see. Mom is already knitting booties. You are going to lose, Bryan. You are old news. Trent is the future. She walked out. I sat there for a long time, staring at the grain of the wood table. Is it true? I whispered. Can't she take the house because of a new baby? It complicates things, Sarah admitted, her face grim. Judges do not like to leave newborns homeless. If Trent is really pregnant, and if she claims poverty, we might have a fight on our hands. I drove home in a daze. My mind was racing. Pregnant. Trent was pregnant. It felt like the final nail in the coffin. But then my old auditor brain kicked in. Wait. I remembered the credit card statements. I remembered the charges from 3 weeks ago. There was a charge at a high-end sushi restaurant, raw fish, and the week before that, a charge at a wine bar. 2 bottles of heavy Cabernet. And the pharmacy charges, not for prenatal vitamins, but for retinol cream, something pregnant people are strictly told to avoid. I gripped the steering wheel. Something did not add up. Vivian said Trent was pregnant. Her mother was knitting booties. But Trent was eating sashimi and drinking heavy reds. I was not just a scorned husband anymore. I was an auditor, and I smelled a discrepancy in the books. The pregnancy was the variable that did not fit the equation. If Trent was pregnant, he was taking a massive risk with his lifestyle choices. Or she was lying. I spent the next 2 nights doing what I do best, digging. Vivian had blocked me on social media, and Trent's profile was now set to private, probably in Vivian's advice after Jason saw the photos. But the internet is written in ink, not pencil. Nothing is ever truly hidden. I created a burner account on a social media site. I used a stock photo of a landscape and named it Chicago Foodie 999. Then I started searching. I did not search for Trent Miller directly. I searched for his friends. I remembered a photo Jason had shown me earlier. A group shot at Trent with 2 other people at a brunch. One of them was tagged. I went to their public profile. And there in their stories from 24 hours ago was a video. It was a boomerang of clinking glasses. Caption: Girls, night out at Trent's. Killing the tequila shots. I paused the video and zoomed in. There was Trent in a tight shirt, throwing back a shot of tequila with salt and lime. Pregnant people do not do tequila shots. So, the pregnancy was a lie. A leverage play. A way to guilt me into a settlement and get her mother on board. It was despicable, but it was also a tactical error, because now I knew they were perjuring themselves. But I kept digging. Why would he lie? Was it just for Vivian's money? But Vivian did not have money anymore. I had frozen it. He had to know she was broke now. Why stick around? Unless Vivian was not his only iron in the fire. I went back to Google. I searched Trent Miller Chicago Marketing. I found his professional profile. It was polished, impressive. But then I saw a recommendation from a year ago. Trent is a dedicated professional. Robert Vance, CEO of Vance Logistics. Vance Logistics. That sounded familiar. It was a competitor to Vivian's firm, but much, much bigger. A real empire. I clicked on Robert Vance's profile. He was handsome, older, maybe early 50s, distinguished, with silver hair and kind eyes. He looked like the kind of man Vivian desperately wanted to be, but never quite achieved. I went to a social media platform. I searched Robert Vance. His profile was locked down, but his cover photo was public. It was a photo of him and a woman on a boat in Lake Michigan. They were smiling, the wind in their hair. The woman was wearing a wide, brimmed hat and sunglasses, but I recognized that chin. I recognized that smile. It was Trent. My heart stopped. I stared at the screen. Were they dating? Was he cheating on Vivian with this Robert guy? I zoomed in on the photo. I looked at Trent's left hand resting on Robert's chest. There was a ring, a massive diamond ring, and a wedding band. I felt a shiver run down my spine. I opened a new tab and searched Robert Vance marriage license Cook County. Nothing. I tried Robert Vance marriage announcement. And there it was. A small blurb in a society column from 3 years ago. Tech magnate Robert Vance weds Trent Miller in private ceremony in Tuscany. They were married. Trent was not Vivian's girlfriend. He was not her mistress. He was a married man. He was Robert Vance's husband. My brain spun trying to put the pieces together. He was married to a multi-millionaire CEO. So why was he with Vivian? Vivian was a small fish compared to Robert. Then it hit me. Vivian was the side piece. Vivian was the boss lady who paid for the excitement. Vivian was the one he went to for the thrill, for the ego boost, while his husband was busy running a corporation. And he was using Vivian's money, my children's money, to fund a secret apartment where he could meet her without his husband finding out. The Trent luxury apartment was not his home. It was his love nest, his hideout. And the pregnancy. If he was telling Vivian he was pregnant, he was trapping her. But did Robert know? I looked at Robert's photo again. He looked kind. He looked happy. He looked completely oblivious. I realized then, I was not the only victim in this story. There was another person being played for a fool. A man who probably thought his marriage was perfect, just like I had. I sat back in my chair, the glow of the laptop illuminating the dark room. A plan began to form in my mind. It was dangerous. It was bold. And it was going to require me to step out of my comfort zone and blow this entire charade sky high. I needed to meet Robert Vance. I tracked Robert Vance down the old-fashioned way. I called his executive assistant at Vance Logistics and claimed I was a forensic accountant conducting a routine audit on a vendor partner, which was not entirely a lie, in spirit. I asked for 15 minutes of his time to discuss a sensitive discrepancy involving a mutual associate. He agreed to meet me at a coffee shop near his office in the Loop, neutral ground. When I walked in, I recognized him immediately. He looked even better in person than in the photos. He had a presence. Calm, authoritative, but with wary eyes. He stood up when he saw me, buttoning his suit jacket. A gentleman. "Mr. Reynolds?" he asked, extending a hand. "I am Robert Vance." My assistant said this was urgent. It is, I said, shaking his hand. Please sit down, and call me Bryan. We ordered coffees. I waited until the waitress left before I pulled out my manila envelope. I was getting very good at carrying these envelopes. Mr. Vance, Robert. I started, my voice steady. I do not know how to say this gently, so I am just going to say it. I believe our spouses are knowing each other very well. Robert blinked. He took a sip of his black coffee, his expression unchanging. I am sorry. I do not follow. My wife, Vivian Vance, left me 2 weeks ago for a man named Trent Miller. A man she claims is her lover. A man she claims is pregnant with her child. Robert set his cup down. The ceramic clinked loudly against the saucer. My husband's name is Trent Vance. His maiden name was Miller. Yes, I said. And I believe he is living a double life. I slid the photos across the table. The screenshots from social media before he went private. The receipts for the apartment. The photos Jason had taken. Robert picked them up. His hands were large and steady, but as he flipped through the images, Vivian and Trent kissing, Trent showing off his expensive jewelry, his face went gray. It was the color of old ash. He stared at a photo of Trent wearing the pendant Vivian had bought with Tyler's birthday money. He told me her grandmother gave her this. Robert whispered. He said it was a family heirloom. My wife bought it 3 weeks ago, I said gently. With money stolen from my son's college fund. Robert closed his eyes. He took a deep, shuddering breath. I travel, he said quietly. I travel 3 weeks out of the month. Asia, Europe. He said he was lonely. He said he needed a studio space for his art projects. I pay the rent on a studio in the city. This is not an art studio, Robert, I said. It is where he meets Vivian. He looked at me, pain etching deep lines around his mouth. He is pregnant. That is what Vivian says. She is using it to blackmail me in our divorce. Robert let out a short, bitter laugh. It was a terrifying sound. That is impossible. Why? Because. Robert leaned in, his eyes hard as flint. I had a vasectomy 5 years ago. Slept before I met him. He knows that if he is pregnant, it is not mine. But honestly, I do not think he is pregnant at all. I think he is playing a game. He is drinking tequila. I added. I saw the video. Robert nodded slowly. He was not crying. He was past tears. He was in the zone of cold, calculated fury, the same zone I had been living in for weeks. He looked at the evidence again. Vivian, does she know he is married? Robert asked. I do not think so. She thinks he is a successful marketing executive who is madly in love with her. She thinks she is his savior. Savior. Robert scoffed. He spends $20,000 a month on my credit cards. He drives a sports car I paid for. If he leaves me for her, he leaves with nothing. We have a prenuptial agreement. An ironclad one. Infidelity voids his spousal support. He looked up at me. Why are you telling me this, Bryan? You could have just used this in your divorce court. Because, I said. Vivian is destroying my family. She has humiliated my sons, and Trent is helping her do it. I want justice. But I cannot take down Trent alone. He is your husband. Not for long, Robert said. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card. He handed it to me. Then he looked me in the eye. Vivian works for Logistics Prime. Correct? Yes. They have their annual company picnic this Saturday at the lakeside grounds. I nodded. Vivian begged me to go. She needs to play the happy family role to get a promotion. She thinks if she gets promoted, she can pay me off. Robert smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was a predator's smile. Bryan, he said, I think you should go to that picnic. I think you should wear your best suit. And I think you should tell Vivian that you are willing to discuss a settlement. And what will you do? I am a major shareholder in Logistics Prime, Robert revealed. I know the CEO personally. I think it is time I paid a visit to the company picnic. I have some business to discuss with my husband. We sat there for another hour plotting. Two betrayed spouses, sipping lukewarm coffee, designing the destruction of the people who hurt us. It was not just revenge. It was a tactical operation. When we shook hands outside the coffee shop, I felt a surge of power. I was not alone anymore. I had a tank, and we were rolling into battle on Saturday. The next day, Vivian called me. I let it ring 3 times before picking up. I needed to sound broken. I needed to sound defeated. Hello. I answered, keeping my voice small and wavering. Bryan, Vivian said. She sounded brisk, business-like. I am glad you picked up. Look, about the mediation. Things got heated. Maybe we can find a middle ground. I do not know, Vivian. I sighed. The pregnancy. It is a lot to process. It is. She lied smoothly. And that is why I need this promotion, Bryan. The VP senior role opens up next month. If I get it, my salary doubles. That means more alimony for you, more money for the boys. Everyone wins. What do you want me to do? The company picnic is this Saturday, she said. The CEO, Mr. Henderson, is big on family values. He expects to see us there together. Happy. If you come, if you play the part of the supportive husband just one last time, I will sign over the house. I will agree to your terms on the custody. I just need this promotion to afford the new baby. She was dangling the house like a carrot. She thought I was desperate enough to bite. You promise? I asked. You will give me the house in writing. I will have my lawyer draft it Monday morning, she promised. Just come to the picnic. Wear that blue shirt I like. Smile. Hold my hand. Can you do that? Okay, I whispered. I will do it for the boys. Good boy, she said. The condescension dripped from the phone. I knew you would see reason. I will pick you up at 11. No, I said quickly. I will drive myself. I have some errands to run beforehand. I will meet you there. Fine. Just do not be late. And Bryan, look presentable. No cargo shorts. I hung up and stared at the phone. Good boy. She had called me like a dog, like a trained pet. Saturday morning arrived with a blazing sun. I did not wear the blue shirt Vivian liked. That shirt was for the submissive husband, the man who faded into the background. Instead, I went to my closet and pulled out a suit I had bought 3 years ago but never wore, because Vivian said it was too aggressive. It was a tailored charcoal gray with a sharp, crimson tie. It felt like armor. I paired it with my best leather shoes. I spent an hour on my hair, blow-drying it into sleek, sharp waves. I applied my strongest cologne, a shade called Victory. When I walked downstairs, Jason whistled. "Wha? Dad," he said, looking up from his video game. "You look dangerous." "That is the point," I said, adjusting my collar. "Boys, you are staying at Grandma's today. My mother, who lived an hour away. I do not want you to see this." "See what?" Tyler asked. "Justice," I said. I drove to the picnic grounds with the windows down, letting the wind mess up my hair just a little. I wanted to look I was arriving from a life that was vibrant and full, not a man who had been crying into a pillow. My phone buzzed. A text from Robert. Message ETA 12:30. The cavalry is coming. Stay strong. I parked the car. I could smell the charcoal of the barbecue grills and hear the murmur of corporate conversation. I took a deep breath. This was it. Vivian wanted a show. I was going to give her a show, but it was not going to be a romantic comedy. It was going to be a tragedy, and she was the main character. I walked toward the entrance tent. I saw Vivian standing near the coolers holding a glass of iced tea, laughing with her boss. She looked confident. She looked happy. She had no idea that in less than an hour, her entire world was going to burn to the ground. The Logistics Prime annual picnic was held at a sprawling lakeside park. It was the kind of event that screamed corporate forced fun. There were red and white checkered tablecloths, a bouncy castle for the kids that looked dangerously underinflated, and a DJ playing oldies at a volume that made conversation impossible. I scanned the crowd. It was a sea of pastel polo shirts and slacks. Vivian was standing near the VIP tent, chatting with Mr. Henderson, the CEO. When Vivian saw me, her eyes widened. She excused herself and rushed over, grabbing my elbow a little too tightly. "You are here," she hissed, looking me up and down. "And you are wearing that tie. You said look presentable." I thought red was festive. I smiled, pulling my arm away. "It stands out," she grumbled. "You are supposed to blend in." "Whatever, just smile. Mr. Henderson is watching." We walked over to the CEO. Mr. Henderson was a jovial man with a white mustache and a firm handshake. "Bryan, good to see you," he boomed. "Vivian was just telling me about the new expansion plans. This woman is a machine. You must be very proud." "Oh, I am amazed by her every day," I said, my voice dripping with sweet poison that only I could taste. "Vivian is certainly full of surprises." "That she is." Henderson laughed. "We are thinking of moving her up to senior VP. She needs stability at home for that, though. Big responsibility. Glad to see you two are solid." "Heard some rumors about, well, rough patches." Vivian stiffened. "Just rumors, sir. Bryan and I are better than ever. Right, honey?" She put her arm around my waist, her fingers digging into my side. It took every ounce of my willpower not to stomp on her foot. "Marriage is a journey," I said diplomatically. As we mingled, I spotted him. Trent was there. The audacity of it took my breath away. He was not standing with Vivian, obviously. He was near the intern group, wearing a white button, down in a floppy hat, holding a glass of wine. He looked young, pretty, and completely out of place. He caught Vivian's eye and gave a little wave. Vivian turned slightly pale and looked away quickly. Why was he here? Had he insisted on coming to watch his woman get promoted? Or had Vivian invited him too? Arrogant enough to think she could juggle her husband and her lover in the same park. Then, I saw Patricia. My mother-in-law was sitting at a picnic table under a tree holding court with some other elderly relatives. She saw me in my red tie and frowned. Pursing her lips, I walked over. "Hello, Patricia." "Bryan," she sniffed. "That suit is a bit much for a barbecue, is it not? You look like a stop sign." "I wanted to make sure Vivian could find me," I said. "Is Trent enjoying the party?" Patricia dropped her fork. "Hush. Keep your voice down. Why is he here?" "Vivian invited him." I lied. "She wants his new family to see her success." "She is a fool," Patricia muttered, looking anxious. "But at least you are here. You are doing the right thing, Bryan. Standing by her. For the baby." "Oh yes," I said. "The baby." The humidity was rising. The smell of burnt hot dogs filled the air. I checked my watch. 12:25. Robert was 5 minutes out. I needed to move Vivian into position. "Vivian," I said, walking back to her. "Mr. Henderson looks like he is about to make the speeches. Should not we be near the stage?" "Yes, yes," Vivian said, wiping sweat from her forehead. "Come on, stand next to me. Look adoring." We moved toward the wooden gazebo that served as the stage. A microphone was set up. The music died down. Mr. Henderson stepped up to the mic, tapping it. "Testing. 1, 2. All right, everyone. Gather round." The crowd shuffled in. Trent moved closer, standing near the edge of the crowd, beaming at Vivian. Vivian stood tall, puffing out her chest, ready for her coronation. "We have had a great year at Logistics Prime," Henderson began. "Record profits, record growth, and that is thanks to our leadership team." I looked toward the parking lot entrance. A black Escalade pulled up. Then another, then a police cruiser. Vivian did not see them. She was too busy staring at the CEO. "I want to recognize someone special today," Henderson said. "Someone who has shown incredible drive." The doors of the Escalade opened. Robert Vance stepped out. He was wearing a charcoal suit, looking like a titan of industry. He was flanked by two men in suits, lawyers, and two uniformed police officers. They began to walk across the grass toward the gazebo. I felt a thrill of electricity shoot through me. The trap was sprung. "Bryan," Vivian whispered. "Someone is here to see you." "Not now, Bryan," she hissed. "No," I said, stepping back, separating myself from her. "I think you really need to look." Vivian turned. She saw the police. She saw the lawyers, and then she saw Robert. She frowned. "Who is that?" But Trent saw him too. I watched the blood drain from his face. He dropped his glass of sangria. It shattered on the concrete path, red wine splashing onto his white shirt like a gunshot wound. "Robert," he whispered, loud enough for the people around her to hear. Robert did not stop. He walked straight through the parting crowd, his eyes locked on the stage. Mr. Henderson stopped speaking. "Robert. Robert Vance. What a surprise. I did not know you were coming." Robert walked up the steps of the gazebo, took the microphone from a confused Mr. Henderson, and looked out at the crowd. "Forgive the interruption, Jim," Robert said, his voice booming over the speakers. "But there is a crime in progress." Vivian froze. She looked at me, then at Robert, then at Trent. The pieces were starting to click, but too slowly. I crossed my arms and smiled. It was time for the fireworks. The picnic ended abruptly after that. It is hard to eat hamburgers after watching your CEO get arrested and his husband get downed by his tycoon spouse. I watched from the parking lot as the police car drove away with Vivian in the back seat. She was pressing her face against the glass, looking back at me. I did not wave. I just adjusted my sunglasses. Robert walked over to me. He looked tired but relieved. "Are you okay, Bryan?" he asked. "I am better than okay, Robert," I said. "I feel light. The weight of 15 years of lies is gone. My lawyers will be in touch with Mr. Henderson," Robert said. "We are going to make sure the company does not press criminal charges if Vivian agrees to immediate restitution. I do not want a long trial. I just want her ruined. She does not have the money for restitution," I pointed out. "No." Robert smiled grimly. "But she has a 401k and she has stock options. We will garnish everything. She will be lucky if she can afford a bus ticket out of town." I looked over at Trent. He was sitting on the curb, barefoot. He had broken a heel trying to call someone. Robert had already canceled his phone plan. I could see him staring at the screen in frustration as the calls failed. "What about him?" I asked. "I am filing for an annulment based on fraud," Robert said. "He lied about his identity, his background, everything. He is going back to Nebraska or wherever he crawled out of. He is not my problem anymore." I got into my car, the SUV I had reclaimed. I drove home in silence, but my mind was loud with victory. When I got home, the house was quiet. The boys were still at my mom's. I walked into the kitchen, the same kitchen where Vivian had slammed the divorce papers down just 2 weeks ago. It felt different now. It felt like my house. I poured myself a glass of iced tea and sat at the table. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Patricia. Messagey. How could you? You humiliated her. You ruined the family name. I am in the hospital with palpitations. I typed back slowly. Reply. Vivian ruined the family name when she became a thief. Get well soon, Patricia. And do not ask me for money for the bill. Then I blocked her number. An hour later, my lawyer called. Bryan. Sarah said, sounding cheerful. I just got a call from Vivian's lawyer. He has fired Vivian as a client. Apparently, Vivian's check bounced. I laughed. So, who is representing her? A public defender, probably. Or she will have to represent herself. Either way, she is desperate. She wants to settle. She is willing to give you everything: sole custody, the house, the remaining assets. If you just convince the company not to send her to jail. Let her sweat for a night, I said. I will think about it tomorrow. That night, I slept like a baby. No snoring, no lies, no anxiety. Just the peaceful silence of a man who had taken out the trash. The next few days were a blur of paperwork and logistics, but the good kind. I went to the school to pick up Jason and Tyler. I was nervous about telling them what happened, but news travels fast. Jason got into the car, a strange look on his face. Dad, is it true? Did Mom get arrested at the picnic? Who told you that? It is on TikTok, Jason said. Someone filmed it. It has like 1 million views. CEO husband crashes picnic to expose cheating wife and VP. My friends showed me. My stomach dropped. I had not thought about the viral aspect. Is Mom going to jail? Tyler asked, his voice trembling. I pulled the car over. I turned around to face them. Mom is in trouble, I said honestly. She broke the law. She took money that was not hers. But Mr. Vance, the man from the video, is working it out. So, Mom probably will not go to prison for a long time. She will, however, have to pay back every penny. So, she is poor now? Tyler asked. Yes, honey. She is. Good, Tyler said, crossing his arms. Maybe she can learn how to save money like you taught us. I smiled. My boys were resilient. They were hurt. Yes, but they saw the truth. They saw their mother for who she was, and they saw me standing strong. Vivian was released on bail the next morning, paid for by selling her expensive watch. She tried to come to the house. I saw her on the security camera. She looked disheveled. She was wearing a cheap tracksuit. She rang the doorbell incessantly. I did not open the door. I spoke through the intercom. Go away, Vivian. Bryan. Please, she sobbed. I have nowhere to go. Trent locked me out of the studio. Robert evicted him, so he kicked me out. I am sleeping on a park bench. That sounds uncomfortable, I said. Maybe you should ask your mother for a room. Mom will not talk to me. She says I embarrassed her at the club. Well, I said. Actions have consequences. We have a restraining order, Vivian. If you do not leave the property in 2 minutes, I am calling the police again. And this time, it will not be for fraud. It will be for harassment. She stared at the camera, her face a mask of misery. I miss the boys. I miss my life. You should have thought about that before you bet it all on a pair of red feather earrings, I said. I turned off the intercom. I watched her walk away, shoulders slumped. A broken woman dragging her feet down the driveway she used to own. It was a tragedy, yes, but it was a tragedy she wrote, directed, and starred in. I was just the critic who gave it a bad review. Vivian stopped fighting. She called Sarah the next day. She agreed to sign everything. She agreed to the full repayment plan. She agreed to supervised visitation only, which the boys declined for now. She agreed to let me keep the house, the retirement accounts, and full custody. She just wanted it to be over. Signing the final papers was anticlimactic. We did not do it in a courtroom. We did it in a notary's office. Vivian looked 10 years older. She signed page after page without reading them. "I am sorry, Bryan," she said quietly when it was done. "I really am." I looked at her. I searched my heart for anger, but I found only indifference. "I know you are," I said. "But sorry does not refill the college funds. Only checks do." "I am working at a warehouse," she muttered. "Amazon, the night shift, it pays." "Okay. I will send the checks." "You do that," I said. I walked out of that office a free man. The sun was shining. The air smelled sweeter. I got into my car and checked my phone. A text from Robert Vance. Message. "Hearing went well. I just wanted to let you know that Trent has officially moved back to Nebraska, and I was wondering if you would like to grab dinner to celebrate freedom as friends." I smiled. "As friends?" I typed back. "For now." 6 months have passed since the picnic. Life looks very different now. The house is peaceful. We repainted the kitchen. No more reminders of Vivian. Jason got a partial scholarship for his grades, and I managed to replenish a good chunk of the college fund by selling Vivian's extensive collection of vintage jewelry and designer accessories, which it turned out I legally owned. I went back to work, not as a stressed-out auditor, but as a financial consultant for men and women going through divorce. I helped them find the hidden assets. I helped them read the tax returns. I helped them find their war paint. It is the most fulfilling work I have ever done. Tyler is doing great. He does not ask about his mom much anymore. But when Vivian calls for her supervised video chats, Tyler talks to her. It is awkward, but it is healing. Vivian is humble now. She is living in a small apartment with 2 roommates, driving a used vehicle. She looks human. As for me, I am happy. Truly happy. I learned that I was not just a house husband. I was not just a supporting character in Vivian's movie. I was the director of my own life. I am dating again. Robert and I have dinner every Friday. We take it slow. We bond over our shared trauma, but we also laugh. We laugh a lot. He respects me. He asks for my advice on business. He treats me like an equal. Last week, I was cleaning out the junk drawer. The same one where I found the pen to sign the divorce papers. I found that cheap red feather earring. I looked at it and smiled. I did not throw it away. I put it in a small box on my desk. A reminder. A reminder that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the best thing. If Vivian had not cheated, if she had not been so arrogant, I would still be asleep. I would still be the man wiping the counter, waiting for permission to live. Now, I do not wait for permission. I write my own checks. I sign my own papers. And I never, ever underestimate myself. Thank you for listening to my story. It was not easy to tell, but I hope it helps someone out there. I hope it helps you check your bank accounts. I hope it helps you trust your gut. And most of all, I hope it reminds you that you are stronger than you think. If you enjoyed this journey of justice, please like this video and subscribe. And remember to comment the number 1 if you made it to the end. You guys are my rock. Until next time, stay strong, stay sharp, and keep your receipts.